Welcome to Worldview Tube's Washington Report on this June 1st, 2026. I'm joined by Jim Path of theconservativecaucus.com. And we have news on Iran. The peace talks, I guess, are kind of falling apart. Some striking has resumed. We have some news on Minnesota's GOP nomination or endorsement at their caucus. And then we have some news with Tina Peters. Tina Peters was released from prison today and more. But Jim, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. Well, let's start with this. It's June 1st and the MLB, I guess, is trying to beat everyone to the race. They already have their Pride Month post out that everyone is welcome for baseball's for everyone. I guess they had to. Yeah,
it is for everyone. And if transgender people or LGBT, however many genders James Tallarico says that there are, they're welcome to go to baseball games. Just stop promoting the lifestyle, you idiots. Yeah. I mean, this isn't, what is it that we need most in this country? What we need most is to affirm what, by the way, baseball always has affirmed historically in our country's history: families and children. This is what's really interesting about all this and harmful is these organizations who think that they're connecting with people and doing the right thing socially are actually doing the very wrong thing socially. What makes and has made America a strong country, there are a few key factors. One of them is strong families, husbands and wives having children and raising them in the home, utilizing the understanding of a strong moral code based on the Judeo-Christian ethic, transmitting that into the lives of young people. For all of our faults and anything negative you want to say about the United States, most of which is overblown, some of it probably fairly balanced, particularly when you talk about, we had slavery for a while in this country. The family has been the foundation of our strength as a country. I heard no less of a leftist than Bill Maher the other day telling Gen Zers, get over it. History is complicated. When we founded this country, yes, there was a compromise related to slavery, but to get rid of slavery in the North American continent, had we not done that, would have meant invading a foreign country, meaning states in the South, had they not joined up then, instead of the moral high ground of appealing to the principles of the Constitution to get rid of slavery. History is messy, but what I can tell you for certain is more messy is promoting these stupid lifestyles as the premier arrangement that we want in society, as opposed to a married mother and father in the home raising children. That married mother and father in the home does far more to make us a great country, to propagate freedom and liberty for long periods of time, to set things right in a culture, than anything any transgender or homosexual marriage provided. We don't have to be particularly cruel and mean to these people, but to make their lifestyles something we promote as a primary consideration is not helpful for society. And frankly, I think it's harmful when you make it the primary thing. So I grew up loving baseball and football, meaning soccer for me, are my favorite sports ever. And just to look back on Ken Burns' baseball documentary and see all of the things we went through as a country that baseball helped mitigate and adjudicate in many ways culturally, that's all getting thrown by the wayside by these idiots in the MLB.
Yep. Well, in Tennessee, here we're celebrating the first day of Nuclear Family Month. Governor Bill Lee signed a bill making June Nuclear Family Month. So I think we can celebrate that one instead.
Listen, I have my criticisms of Bill Lee because I think he's somewhat, he's in the rhino class somewhat. But one thing that Governor Bill Lee has done well, other than doing the redistricting and pressing for it, which I also thank him for, is he has done a lot in that state government to promote the family. And he deserves a huge amount of credit for taking leadership in that regard, because there aren't as many states that have put so much effort into that. By the way, I think they spend a little bit too much money on that promotion. So there's some budget issues that come in there. But to be candid, even if he goes overboard in that you can't criticize him for understanding how critical the family and the Judeo-Christian ethic are to this society. And I give him major, major kudos for that.
Yeah, well, let's move on to a state that does not do that, and that is California. I guess tomorrow is the election for mayor of LA, and Spencer Pratt posted this. He said, "I don't even need to make campaign ads anymore. Karen and Nathia just keep making them for me." And here is I guess a homeless person sleeping next to a ballot box. So I guess when people come to drop off their ballots, they get to see what it's like and see if they want to keep it the same way or try something different.
You just wonder if this is the time that people in LA are going to say, okay, we played around with this long enough. It's time to do something different. You just wonder. It's going to be interesting to watch the results. By the way, I mistakenly said on a radio interview I did earlier this morning, it was June 9th. It is tomorrow. My apologies to anyone that happens to be coming across this. This is a real time of awakening in the country. But I'm not yet convinced that Californians are entirely fed up with it, because I don't know that Spencer Pratt is going to get he's definitely not likely to get enough votes to avoid a runoff in November. If he got anyone who got 50% of the vote in the election tomorrow for LA mayor would become mayor. If not, there's a runoff. So that's sad. You would hope and think that people would do it. Maybe I could be surprised. I'd love it. But also, Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco, it'd be great for them to come out 1 and 2 in the governor primary, which is also going to be happening tomorrow, and have it be for sure a Republican, one of two great people who could be fantastic governors. You could only hope California is going to wake up, but not convinced of it yet, but I'll be watching very closely.
Well, here, keep staying on it for just a second longer. Here's a Fox report. Authorities are investigating multiple vote-by-mail ballots were found burned inside a Los Angeles ballot box. Listen to this.
Inside a ballot box in Los Angeles, just 2 days before the California primaries, election officials discovered the damaged ballots, and they filed a report with the police department. They say a separate voting center was also vandalized. Investigators are looking into both incidents and are working to identify any voters who have been affected. And the United States men's soccer team kicking off their...
So there's already some issues happening with the ballot boxes, and we'll keep following it, but it's really just a toss-up, Jim. We don't know what the voters are going to decide. I mean,
by the way, on this ballot box problem, I've got a really good idea. Now, just stick with me here. This probably will not seem very smart, but I think I might have a good idea. If we had same-day elections where you had to show up in a polling place where ballots could be monitored during the entire elective process, you wouldn't have problems like this. Now, am I off here, Logan? Is there something I'm missing?
I don't think so.
I mean, it just emphasizes how stupid our election processes have become, and it should emphasize to people how purposeful Democrats have been to screw up how we do elections so that they can cause chaos and get an advantage. It's got to change. We got to stop multiple precinct counting areas. We need to go back to in-precinct voting, in-precinct counting, and go back to what worked for 230 years in this country to our benefit, where we were the gold standard when it came to electing people.
Well, let's move on talking about voting. Let's go to the Minnesota GOP convention, where they were voting to endorse they were voting to endorse the GOP their candidates for their upcoming primaries. And they were using clickers, I guess, they look like calculators, if you want to throw that on the screen, Thomas. They look like the calculators you use in school, and they were using that to vote, Jim. I don't know how many people were in the room. I don't think that many. I don't think it would have been that hard just to have everyone vote by paper, but I guess that's too too simple for them, Jim?
There are two reasons to use computers for voting. The first reason is you're lazy because it takes a little time to actually count ballots. The second one is corruption. And do not underestimate. I have been connected to many GOP state conventions that have, in recent years, that have done this sort of counting. And I'm going to tell you this, in every instance, there is something that goes wrong. It never works quite right. It's supposed to be quicker, and then they can show the results right away. Never works quite right. But I also know of people, and I've seen it myself, in these situations where there really are sometimes rhino Republicans that do not want conservative activists to get a leg up, and they mess with these machines too. We have got to just forget the farce that computer machines, touchscreen, button, whatever you want to utilize. We need to get away from the farce that this is a secure or even useful way to count votes. Counting votes, working that system is supposed to be laborious enough that we put the effort in to take it seriously. And computers are either not taken seriously or corruptly used. Period. That's just the way it is. There's no getting by it. We just got to go back. Same day voting with paper ballots, and even in your GOP state convention, you rhinos.
Yeah, and I want to know if there's any kickbacks going on with the people who sign contract with these companies to use these devices.
These companies make a lot of money. It ain't cheap to do it. Mm-hmm. So there are people that make money off of this. I mean, Smartmatic and Dominion are not the only computer voting system companies out there. There are a couple others that are very large as well. You're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, nay, billions of dollars throughout all the 50 states to do this. Then there are these procedures. They cost way too much, but even if the costs were the same to do paper ballots are more secure because they're checkable. And it requires the effort of people to watch what's going on. You can't watch anything that's going on with these computer systems. That doesn't mean every single time an election's stolen using a computer system. It just means you can't check it. And checking the vote is as important as making the vote.
Yep. Yeah. Well, let's move on to Iran. This is a recent report from Fox saying that the U.S. has carried out more self-defense strikes. Let's listen to this.
CITCOM, meanwhile, says U.S. forces have carried out a fourth round of self-defensive strikes on Iranian targets. This follows the Iranian Revolutionary Guard downing an American drone over the weekend. Overnight, the president posted this: Iran really wants to make a deal, and it would be a good one for the USA. Just sit back and relax. It will all work out well in the end. It always does. He's also reportedly sent that radical Islamic regime some proposed changes to the latest peace deal. It offers tougher language on Iran's nuclear commitments, and it pledges to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. A former deputy national security advisor is backing the president's approach.
So President Trump's saying it's all going to work out, but there is a little more uncertainty today with some of the strikes picking up, and I think Iran is backed off from negotiations. So
they're saying they're not going to participate anymore. Mm-hmm. I will say this. 60 days of going back into kinetic action against Iran is the same as 60 days of them just delaying it further. They're playing a delay tactic. Mm-hmm. I never wanted to go to war to begin with, but I have to tell you, this has to be finished off now. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. We give up at this stage, and we've strengthened Iran for decades to come. And it's a more scary situation than not. So if you want to be critical of Donald Trump for putting us in this situation, you can. I think he's smarter than that. I think he understands what he's doing. But if they're going to keep playing these tactics, then the first thing I'd do is send Israel in to bomb them. I mean, us sending them, not them sending us. Mm-hmm. Have them go and finish some kinetic activity, and then we would come in and back it up. I listen. Iran is an evil actor on the international stage. They intend to kill people. They are terrorists. And now at this stage and where we're at right now, that needs to get finished some way or another. Donald Trump has shown incredible patience, and I think he's going to continue to do it because he does not want to kill more people. But I think he's willing to, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few days. I think what has to happen is he's going to have to go ahead and take a firm stand, because Iran's playing games. They're playing total game. They're violating the ceasefire, and yet blaming the United States for violating the ceasefire. And then the ceasefire is between the U.S. and Iran, but Israel is doing things to defend itself against Hezbollah forces and Hamas forces, and they're violating our ceasefire agreement with Iran. That's just stupid. But that's the thing. This is the way these people act. They're fake and false, and they're liars. And Donald Trump needs to show firmness. I think he will.
Yep. And we got to go to break, but there's also reports U.S. CENTCOM has intercepted 2 Iranian ballistic missiles targeting U.S. forces in Kuwait. It says these missiles were immediately defeated and no American personnel were harmed. So we'll keep covering it. We'll be back here in just one moment.
3 years ago, the United States was stunned by an announcement from war-torn Korea. U.S. Army Private David Hawkins and 20 other prisoners of the communists had become turncoats. They had renounced their own country and disappeared behind Red China's bamboo curtain.
What had you heard?
Well, only what our Chinese captors had told us, how great they were working toward socialism, and the great strides that they were taking, bettering the life of the Chinese people who for so many thousands of years had lived a life of oppression under various governments.
All right, welcome back from the break. Jim, let's move on. We have some pretty big news. Tina Peters was released this morning, and she was on War Room with Steve Bannon talking about after 606 days in prison, she is finally out. And I believe she still obviously has legal implications going on, and she's still going to have to go to court and figure everything out, but at least she is out.
This has been a hostage crisis situation. Just be straight up about it. The Secretary of State in Colorado really went off on Tina Peters in a way, and the Attorney General there too, went off on Tina Peters in a way that is illegitimate, utilizing a court system in Colorado that has been infiltrated by leftists because Democrats have had a lot of control over the last couple decades, with only a few interims where Republicans were in the legislature. Haven't had a Republican governor for a long time. They are attacking Tina Peters because they do not want to reveal whether or not the system that they're running is a valid one. And people there will, and I spend a lot of time in Colorado. I know all these players. I know the governor, Jared Polis. He's a lefty, but I know him. All the main political actors there, I'm aware of. I've done a lot of work this century in Colorado politics, and I'm telling you that the Democrats do not want to have their election systems validated. They don't want to prove whether it's useful and good or whether there are errors that might be involved. They don't want to do that. There are Democrat interests there that make a lot of money off of putting these systems in. Dominion had a major office in Colorado, remember? Joe Ortman has been a guy calling out Dominion, a businessman there in Colorado with whom I'm acquainted. And he's the one that revealed some of Dominion's players there, talking about how they were going to do certain things in the election. Again, I don't know precisely what is going on. What I do know is that you make yourself look guilty when you try to throw people like Tina Peters into jail. Even if you think that the process that she took to try to back things up was wrong or invalid or whatever, there was no reason to throw her in jail. You throwing her in jail and then not opening up your systems for review is proof in the minds of many that you're doing something illicit and illegal. And if we do not have our elections open to complete public inspection, then we don't have elections at all. Mm-hmm. And in Colorado, they've been fighting this to the point of throwing someone in jail for so long who didn't even deserve to be there. If there was some penalty related to what she did, throwing her in jail wasn't the thing that was going to get that done in this particular case, because she was trying to preserve information, however rightly or wrongly a process she undertook. It's more a reason to put people in jail if they're unwilling to open elections to inspection. The government is not the one that inspects our election. We hire secretaries of state through the election process, or whoever the authorized person is in a state. That person is typically elected, I think, in almost every state in the United States, and we can take them out if we don't want to, but they're responsible to us, not to them. They aren't the ultimate authority. We're the ultimate authority. We just hire them through the election process to use their capability to monitor it. Some do it well, some do it poorly, but we ask them to do that. And it is our right to come to them and say, show us that it's working. And then we need to kick them out if we can't. Sometimes we can't, so we have to use the court system. I think Jenna Griswold, the Secretary of State there, is probably more responsible to go to jail compared to Tina Peters, because she also broke the law. She's not sitting in jail. She made passwords and authorization keys available to folks. Like, if anyone's broken the law, it's her. So there's a lot to discuss here, but I'm just glad Tina Peters is finally let free. There was no reason for her to be in jail as long as she was.
Yep, exactly. Well, let's move on. In case you thought the ICE protests were over, we really haven't seen a lot about the ICE protest after Minnesota like we were. At least 20 people were arrested in Newark, New Jersey, as protesters clashed with authorities and a large fire broke out outside of an ICE detention facility. And I believe your friend Nick Sorter has been there. I've been seeing videos come out, but here is a report from Fox, or a video from Fox, showing just some of these protests.
So that's just some of what we saw last night, and it's at least maybe 24 arrests and counting. Authorities used tear gas to clear the crowd, while DHS tells Fox there's zero tolerance for rioters here. And they finally have that extra assistance. They kept calling for the Newark police, the state police. Well, now they finally have some backup. Police took over the security operations there outside of Delaney Hall's ICE facility after more than a week of chaos. Video there shows protesters starting fires in the road. I mean, just look at this. I was looking at it over the weekend on X. I'm thinking, what is going on? They started this big blaze there with all this trash that was in the road. They were shoving the fences back as officers tried to move in and stop the crowd from moving in toward the Delaney Hall ICE detention facility. Because of that violence, family visits to the facility for the migrants inside were paused.
So more chaos with ICE facilities. I saw this was going on last week as well. I saw some protesters threatening to kill the family of some agents that were out there that had their faces, that were not covering their faces. He said, I have your face, your family is dead, your kids are dead. And I just want to know how many of these people are paid. I'm guessing a pretty large majority of them.
Well, Nick has shown video where he went undercover and he's showing tens of thousands of dollars of supplies, of medical equipment. Like they expect to do violence. They want people to come, so they're feeding them, and they expect them to get harmed because they intend to do violence. But let me just say this. The state police in New Jersey are actually handling this fantastically. They're coming in and making arrests. They did arrest that person who threatened the life of one of the ICE officers, and they're getting taken down off the street right now. Last 2 nights over the weekend, there were people going to jail. The same people who were literally hitting and trying to harm the horses that some of the state policemen were riding around. These people are violent. The Democrat Party stands for violence. They live by violence. They want to destroy. They don't just want to win elections. They want to destroy their political opponents, literally destroy them. Tina Peters is just one example. Hakeem Jeffries was just saying the other day that he intends to destroy MAGA Republicans. That's his intent. And, we'll bring it on. Politically, we're going to defeat you guys. But what's going on in New Jersey is an example of the kind of violence that Democrats are willing to undertake to press their policy because they can't win it at the ballot box. They can't win it legislatively. So they want to force it on people through violence. And the whole ICE thing, by the way, is the American people, from everything I can tell, yeah, they don't like the messiness of this situation, but they're not at all supportive of the Democrats' stand on this. They want illegals out of this country. They particularly want violent illegals out of this country. And it gets a little more shady when it comes to nonviolent illegals that are just living here working illegally. But nonetheless, they want this thing fixed, and the Democrat solutions are not what they're looking for.
Yeah. And I saw a post yesterday as well that Nick was responding to about one particular person who just, I guess, arrived in New Jersey yesterday. Jake Lang, I guess, coming to stir up more trouble. He just goes everywhere. He's just looking for attention, in my opinion. I'm sorry. He's just doing theatrics to get clicks.
Our national field representative, Chad Caton, is there on the ground with Nick trying to help him out. The reports we're getting are just amazing. But yeah, Jake Lang, whatever. Guys like Nick are really doing a good work to try to expose what is happening. We send Chad up there to give him some assistance. Chad's a former Navy Seabee who has training and understands how to help him out. Nick's just doing his thing, just trying to get things done. But it's important to document what's going on here and to show the hypocrisy of Democrats. And so we're always glad to support it.
Yep. Well, let's go one last thing here. I don't know if anyone saw Jill Biden did an interview and was talking about the debate, Joe Biden's debate with President Trump. And she just talked about how she was so concerned. She thought he was having a stroke. But after the debate, I mean, if we watch this clip, he was hyping him up.
As I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
You answered every question. I don't know if anyone ever remembers that, but it was immediately they rushed him out on stage and talked about how great of a job he does. And now she's saying that she thought he was having a stroke.
Well, she's a liar.
Yeah. And she claims she never saw him that way. That was the first time she ever saw him that way, which I don't buy at all.
Well, it's a lie. It's just it's a flat out lie. You can try to make it out all you want to, but you are liars and you're corrupt, evil, criminal people. Your husband was given a speech. I don't even know how easily he even made it, talking about how they're going to destroy MAGA Republicans in front of a creepy red light set back on the one place that helped establish our liberty, which was the old Pennsylvania State House, where the Constitution was written, where the Declaration was considered. These people want to put goofy backdrops behind them to pretend like that they have some sense of what the American ideal is, and they have no sense of it. Your coke-snorting son, Hunter, who went on with another liar, Candace Owens, recently, is out making deals for you so you can bring in tens of millions of dollars. And Jill Biden, she's one of the most obscene first ladies that we've had, in the sense that she loved being in that position. It was all about being in that position, compared to a Melania Trump who's quite content wherever she happens to be, because she's a strong lady who's made her own life work. And she's doing it having raised a child, Barron, who's a really solid individual, and married to a husband who is challenging and difficult, but frankly, they seem to get along really well. I'll take that all day long over the lying Jill Biden. The whole Biden family are liars. That's what they live for. They're immoral to the core. They're entirely immoral. You can go on and on with all the stories, but I go back to when Joe Biden sort of had his brain still, when he was Barack Obama's vice president, sitting there saying how he was going to withhold federal funds from Ukraine if they didn't fire the attorney general that was investigating his lying, corrupt ways in Ukraine. I mean, these people are absurd. They really make the fact that we ever elect these people to office at all really is harmful to the American reputation. And the more effectively and efficiently we keep these people off the public stage, the better it is for everybody.
Yep. Well, we're all out of time for today. We'll continue following the race in California for mayor. We'll continue following the situation with Iran and more. We'll be back tomorrow at 6:30 Central on worldviewtube.com. Until then, keep up at theconservativecaucus.com and at Jim Path on X. See you tomorrow.